to Amos Sewn 134, Passio's Shadow Work Part 3, I think. Here's my mate DK. He's come and join us along this thing. So, let me turn it off. Here's my mate.
Yeah, yep. I was here at the end of the first one, but yesterday I was feeling like crap, so I wasn't there.
Yeah. So we're here to do the next bit of Mark Passio's shadow. Actually, I was going to say a word. On my shirt, it says trub or numb.
Yeah, on your YouTube, it will on a set for everyone else.
It's
still the right way for me, but yeah.
So
what if I go to his YouTube, it'll be backwards.
So what do you reckon? Trub or numb? Is that a word? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Numbers.
I could chuck another letter in the mate.
Trump.
And Trump is numb. Yes, well. Yeah. Well, I do have the shadow work reckon premiere just before basically I turned off yesterday. So I'm going to change screens and yeah, we'll still be able to talk and hopefully it'll all go well. So here it comes. Press that button and it should work. And ready volume up.
Is to show the practitioner how they are a unique form of consciousness with infinite value and a critical life purpose. Shadow work shows us that we are here to learn and grow, to improve ourselves and our world, and to make a difference in the spiritual war that is before us. When we realize these truths, we will step into our rightful place in the will of creation. Once we commit to our true purpose, universal forces support our efforts and will come to our assistance in innumerable ways. You will see this happen in your own life once you make that dedication and commitment to be a spiritual warrior in this battle. Most people are not. They're wishy-washy. They're weak. They're sitting back with their thumb up their rear end, waiting for something to happen and watching it like it's some TV show, like it's some passive thing that you watch on a screen. That's not what life is, folks. You have to become engaged. You have to become a warrior. You have to get on the spiritual battlefield, and you got to meet the requirements for freedom. It doesn't just magically happen.
Is anyone chatting yet?
All right, so we're going into part 2 of the whole presentation, methods and practice. This is where the actual methodologies of shadow work come into play, and it's where practicing them.
Yeah, I'm just going to make a point here. This is reasonably important. Like Mark Passio, let me just change the screen for a sec. Like Mark Passio is a quite passionate sort of individual, obviously, and he's a bit out there. DK's got another opinion on him, of course, than I have. But I think he's trying to do good work. But he's got a delivery style that is quite often abusive. And a lot of people would just turn off. And I'm not really qualifying his work. I'm saying it's worth a look. And I'm not really qualifying him or myself because I don't know. That's my main thing I do know in life. I don't know shit, and neither do you. But his style is can be abusive. But if you put up with it and listen to the what do they call them these days? Bullet points or something. There is things in there, good information that you may be able to use. And if you don't, you don't. Who knows? I'm just putting the information out there. Hopefully it might help someone.
Well, as I was saying earlier, one start, you need to actually do the work review thing first.
Sorry?
Because if you don't do that first, which means if you don't actually allow yourself to believe that improvement is even a possibility, then you said it will actually work as a hindrance with all the rest of the things.
Yep.
Because your subconscious will be working against you because you don't believe you can actually improve.
Yeah.
I thought quite interesting.
And that's basically what this I've like, because I've basically watched it 1.5 times now. I've been watching it through this, but I watched it before I did the show because that's what made me think it was worth the show. And it's good to have you on here.
I thought it was the one that I'd watched before. I did his like 9-hour stand-up live one.
Oh, right.
I realised this is a different one yet.
But it's saying the same.
The other day.
Pretty much saying the same thing, though.
What he's saying, yeah.
He's saying the same thing, though, is he?
Pretty close to, yeah.
Yeah.
This just seems more structured, and he's got all like the screens for everything and stuff.
Yeah, well, this is
the last one was him just standing, and he had like a projector up.
Yeah.
He's putting stuff up on the projector, but of course it's going to be different every time he does it because he, unless he's memorized 9 hours worth of speaking.
No, he uses notes, of course, but yeah, this is the seminar that people paid for. You know,
I think the one I watched was as well, but it was like a lot older.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I might put him back on, and we'll see how we go. There you go. Press the other button.
We're going to look at some of those dynamics and ways of doing those things. So let's jump into this section.
Cheers, Dk.
The first thing about my approach to shadow work is it is an integral approach. So it does not focus on one person's methodologies, one way of looking at it, one way of doing it. It's an amalgamation of many, many, many eclectic varieties of work and viewpoints and opinions and ideas on this topic by many different researchers or groups of researchers. So I am not going to focus on individual methods from a lot of other people. I'm presenting my methodology that I help to work and develop and essentially, refine. And it's an integral approach. So like any of the occult traditions or methods of occultism, shadow work creates the most benefit when it is employed using an integral approach. And that means that one does not look at shadow work from one single unidimensional perspective, but rather the student or the practitioner studies shadow work from the perspective of many different, diverse teachers and traditions. No one single way or method is 100% complete. This is like martial arts. Are you just going to study jiu-jitsu? Are you just going to study Wing Chun? Are you just going to study, grappling or submission fighting? Are you just going to study blades? You can't do that with martial arts. You have to take an integral approach, or somebody's going to come at you with something, you're not going to know how to handle it, and you're not going to be able to adapt and flow. So just like martial arts, the best methodologies are integral approaches. Spirituality, the best methods involve integral approaches. So studying many methodologies enables us to apply what works and let go of that which may not currently serve our present situation, which may not work in this instance. In JKD, Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's system, they tell you to apply what works, release or let go of what does not serve, and then add dynamics that are unique to your own individual expression, unique to yourself. That's an integral approach. Shadow work has to work the same way as what you would consider a more complete form of martial arts. If you're going to engage in a more complete form of shadow work, it has to be integral. It has to be eclectic and from many traditions. To start methods and practice, you have to begin from exactly where you're at. No bypassing. You don't jump stages. You don't go from degree or step 1 to degree or step 9 or 10. It's a stepwise progression in order, no jumping around, no bypassing. You go according to nature's processes, not what you want the steps to be. Okay? So when beginning work upon the self, the first mental step is the recognition of your current orientation, as we've already talked about. You have to be honest about where you are at and your shortcomings. Orienting yourself means to be honest with yourself as much as possible regarding your current psychological and physical state. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You have to be honest. Where am I at here? Where am I at here? In my physicality, in my mentality, in my emotionality, in my spirituality. You can't lie to yourself. Brutal honesty. Never lie about, underestimate, or overestimate your current condition. Just be honest. Just admit the truth about it. Just say what's true. Get comfortable just saying what's true. It's not that hard. It doesn't really cost anything. Maybe a little bruising of your ego, God forbid. When I have a shortcoming, I just say what it is. That's it. Just say it. We fail. We make mistakes. We have shortcomings. Just say it. Say it to yourself. You don't even have to say it right away to somebody else if you're that ego delicate. Say it to yourself. Be honest with yourself above all else. We can only understand where we want to go, our goal or our destination, once we have an accurate understanding of our current position, our orientation. No spiritual bypassing. Never, ever, ever, ever do that. Don't do that. Do not try to spiritual bypass and skip over necessary steps. When doing difficult spiritual work, especially work that involves personal growth and changes to both worldview and life choices, habits, people invariably insist that there are shortcuts that can be taken. This is one of the big principles of how to become the true media. Don't look for shortcuts. There really aren't any. Do the work, put in the work, spend the time, pay the attention, put in the resources, put in the energy, put in the work. Do it the hard way if that's what you have to do. Don't look for shortcuts. It's an illusion. This is one of the erroneous beliefs that can defeat self-improvement before it even begins, that there are shortcuts. There are not. So don't even engage in that religious belief that you're going to find some magical shortcut through the New Age process, and you're going to spiritually bypass tons of natural steps that are.
No worry, folks. It gets a bit better very shortly.
Are critical and necessary. All you're going to do is set back your development, I think, by a ton. Okay? Never attempt to bypass the natural and necessary processes involved in self-development.
Soon it's coming up.
It is critical to understand that so-called shortcuts are merely another form of illusion and spiritual bypass that will keep us anchored to conditions in which we do not want to be. If you want to stay exactly where you're at, believe there's shortcuts, keep trying to look for shortcuts, keep trying to spiritually bypass, and you're going to stay right where you're at. There's not going to be any improvement. Not to you, and not to the human species.
Like you take shortcuts to things, it generally doesn't work.
No spiritual bypass. One of the most important preparatory steps for shadow work in the phase where you're going to actually begin to go into the methodology is learning to quiet the mind. This is part of being truly present. It's part of present moment awareness. But it's even more than that. And this is what elitist occult teachers that are really running the world today and running the world into the ground. They teach their children total focus, total indistractability. They teach them to empty the mind of all other thoughts when beginning some form of an endeavor. You think I'm thinking about anything else right now? You think I'm thinking about anything I need to do later? You're thinking I'm thinking about anything I didn't do yesterday? I'm fully 100% present. My mind is quiet to allow what I need to do in the moment, in the task at hand. I learned how to do that a long time ago through the occult. And this is what most people have zero idea, no understanding of whatsoever. I see it all the time. I
quiet my mind by just consciously trying to think of nothing. And that works for me.
To do something, the mind's not present. Looking out a window, thinking about something else, on the phone, doing this or that. It's all other activity must stop. If you want to really succeed at something, you have to give 100% undivided, focused attention to the task at hand. Period. The end. No excises. Get over it. So one of the first and best ways of beginning the entirety of that process is you have to learn how to put competing thoughts out of the mind. One of the practices that must precede shadow work is the ability to quiet the chatter of the mind. The best tool for accomplishing this, in my estimation, this is my opinion, but I have not found anything that works better than transcendental meditation or TM. And again, I'm not here to teach the entirety of that practice. I'm here to whet your appetite, make you understand what it is, and then you have to go off and study it on your own autodidactically. Right? This isn't a TM class. This is a shadow work class. Okay, so the best tool for accomplishing the quieting of mental chatter is transcendental meditation. This practice involves slowing the flow of thought that passes by in your mind while focusing on a mantra, at least at first. Some can do it without the mantra when they practice it enough. I could do TM without a mantra, but sometimes you need a mantra, which is a repeated word or sound, and it's fine to use the mantra.
Shut up for a while.
This practice is critical because when there are competing thoughts echoing endlessly in one's internal dialogue of the mind, it becomes exceedingly difficult to turn inward and focus on the work of self-improvement that is at hand. Your mind and its chatter is going to be actually acting as a distraction for the work that you are trying to do upon yourself.
Indeed.
And I see it over and over and over. This is why many people are poor learners. They're poor learners because they're poor listeners. To be a good learner, you have to be a good listener. To be a good listener, all other thoughts have to be out of the mind. It's unbelievably important to focus on this, or you will not be successful at shadow work. You have to become comfortable with being alone with your mind. Most people are very uncomfortable being alone. And I'm talking about in a physical aloneness capacity, let alone in being alone with their own thoughts. They're very uncomfortable being alone in a state of solitude away from others and the noise of the world. That frightens them in many cases. This is one of the reasons people flee from shadow work. Shadow work requires emptying the mind of competing thoughts and focusing inward. That's very frightening to most people. The deepest aspects of shadow work must be conducted alone. Not talking to other people, not engaging with others, alone when one is free of other distractions. And I mean all other distractions. In order to do real shadow work, you have to ensure that you will not be disturbed. You have to ensure that you have privacy. So if you have children, it makes it very difficult. So you would have to make sure that they are cared for by someone else before. If you really want to sit down and do some shadow work, you can't have chattering kids all jumping around. It's impossible. You will not make any progress. You don't do this while you're doing other things like work or other activity. You do this at a quiet, restful state by yourself while there are no other competing thoughts. You can't be thinking about what you need to do tomorrow, what you didn't do yesterday, all of that. You have to sit down quietly and alone and focus inward on the things that need to be focused upon if they're ever going to be improved. So to be successful in such work, one must learn to become comfortable being alone with your own thoughts, noticing the progression of the mental processes within us. You have to watch them first, observe. This involves steadily working through thoughts of uneasiness, fear, anxiety, and dread. And guess what, folks? I even have them occasionally. Not often, but when I really start thinking about the state of the world, I get a little anxious, almost dreadful in some cases. But if you really have done the work to be able to control your flow of thoughts, you can get out of that. I could sit here and be anxious about some technical problems earlier. I got to sit and focus on the task at hand. I have to regroup. I have to clear my mind of any of that and then focus on what needs to be done. When we work to achieve a state of mental calm, clarity and insight invariably follows. That's why if you're going to just jump into crazy frenetic anxiety just because you have some new task at hand. I had a technical problem on the laptop. Did I go into panic mode? Did I go into full-blown anxiety mode? No. I stayed calm. I kept my mental clarity and focus. I turned toward it. I said, I understand. I did the diagnostics, understand what needs to be done. Let's make this adjustment, fixes the problem. That's why I was a great troubleshooter. Things didn't really, make me get flustered. I understood from a diagnostics point of view what the causal factors were, and then I went in there and I solved problems. That's why out of 15 technical support staff members, all...
That's one thing I'm going to jump in and say. Really, when you...
I pause it. Don't just mute.
I have paused it. It's paused. No, sorry. We can stop and have a bit of a chat for a minute. What do you reckon?
All right.
Yeah. Let me just change the screen.
Yeah. See, like what he's saying is like I've already done a lot of it.
Yeah. Well,
so my only stress at the moment comes from a brand new thing that they're dragging out. So it's been stressing me for like a few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not getting an answer, so I can't actually do anything about fixing it.
Mm-hmm.
Once I actually find out, then I can do something about fixing it.
Mm.
I dropped off forms and everything today. They said we'll get a letter out to you, and then I have to go to an appointment to actually go and sort anything out after that. So yeah. So I'm stuck in this
bureaucracy, mate. Bureaucracy. Fucking
yeah. That's what it is. I'm stuck.
Yeah, because you're dealing with order followers.
Yeah, which is just like messing with my head for weeks.
Well, but as I was talking about before, mate, and you say you have difficulty doing it, trying to clear your mind. That's fucking difficult.
Yeah, because especially at the moment, because I'm overthinking everyone.
Yeah.
Constantly thinking about everything is probably closer to it. Yeah.
But seriously, like you were saying, you go to listen to music or whatever. Seriously, go to somewhere where you can hear birds or something, and just sit quietly.
In my room, they wake me up every morning.
No, but do it out in nature. Don't do it in your flat. Don't do it where you are now. Go out there.
I know what you're saying, and I know what he's saying.
And it really fucking makes a difference.
Yeah, I got to get my car fixed. Otherwise, I'm just going to get tickets driving there.
What is it? Fucking out of warrant or something?
As I said, everything is just financial. I still haven't had it fixed since you were over here last year, man.
Yeah, right. You fucking slag ass. Get your shit together, man. Anyway, I'm gonna put Greg back on. I mean, this is Mark rather, not Greg. Yes. Here we go. Back to the show, folks.
All of the other guys and women who did technical support in my department called me Mr. Fix-It. Nobody else could really fix the problems. They did the spiritual bypass and they re-imaged the operating system onto the machine and then put all the data back on it. That's some bullshit cheat code, and it's not even that, because you just made more work for yourself. I would go in and fix the actual problem and get the machine working smoothly from a causal relationship dynamic factor. Knowing here's what caused the problem, this is what not to do, here's how to fix it, now it's fixed and it's working efficiently again. When you stay calm and you empty your mind of competitive thoughts, that's when that type of clarity comes into yourself, and that's when you have real insight on how to fix problems. That's why I was a very good troubleshooter with computing. Shadow work requires shutting the fuck up and listening. This is another thing people have tremendous problems doing. They simply wait to talk and they're not really listening. Or they want to talk at the worst, most inopportune times or places when it's not their time to speak. It's like we just let this chatter go on endlessly, and then we want to talk with our mouth endlessly. And all we're doing is really avoiding what we really need to be listening to and hearing. Quite frankly, our minds talk way too much. Without learning how to quiet the mind and actually listen, shadow work will not be effective. The voice of creation is continuously speaking to.
As I was saying before, mate, quieting your mind is the key. It's fucking hard work. I don't do it successfully totally, but it's the key. Learning to quiet mind, and that's why you need to, go somewhere.
Yeah, as I said, there's a lot of stress and anxiety at the moment.
I know.
So,
and the thing is,
I got to wait. Yeah, I just got to wait.
No, mate, but seriously,
what's going on, so I can do something about it. Yeah, so I'm just like, I'm I'm trying to ignore it and forget about it.
Go sit out in your backyard. It's only a small backyard, but it's big enough. Go sit in your backyard, get a comfortable spot the day on a day when there's a bit of sun maybe, and just try and not think. Seriously, I know it's hard, but seriously, give it a go.
That's what I mean.
And keep on trying.
Yeah, what I've found lately with how much I'm stressing is like some of the meditation music and things that you can find on YouTube, like especially like the back healing frequency with black screen. So there's there's no other stimulation. Yeah. And it's just try and focus on like the music thing and stop thinking. That actually works for me.
Yeah. Okay. Back to the show.
That's about it, though.
Back to the show.
But it does not speak above a whisper. It gently whispers to us what the truth is and what we need to do and says it's up to you to do it now. But it doesn't yell at us like Mark Passio will sometimes. It doesn't get all flustered. It just keeps saying the truth at almost a whisper-like, dynamic in our minds. And we have to get all the competing mental junk that you see up there in this slide out of our heads. We have to shut up and we have to listen to what the voice of creation is telling us. We have to lower the volume of our mental chatter, deeply listen to what's being said to us. And that is the space in which real shadow work can truly begin. This is the preparatory work. This is setting up your set, the mindset. Another part of it is setting, which is setting up your physical environment, which we'll talk about. But we have to change the set up here. The actual mindset has to be worked into the condition where optimal work can then take place. So be quiet, listen, and learn. Empty the mind of competition.
Sorry again? Yeah, right. Set. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, hearing you. But he keeps saying set. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
This is quite a bit that I don't like about what he said.
Because he...
As if he's saying he's like left all the satanic stuff behind him.
But he's still part of it.
A lot of it keeps popping up in the things he says.
Yeah, because he's part of it. He is part of it still. He doesn't even know it.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. He's still part of it.
I listen. I pay attention. But he says a lot that just sort of puts me and probably other people off fully paying attention to what he says. Yeah. As I said, his old like platform used to be called One Great Work, which is also from Aleister Crowley as well. And that was recently in shit. That was on
actually, that's right.
On YouTube or whatever, it was on somewhere. But he had One Great Work.
Yeah.
And that is exactly an Aleister Crowley saying.
Really?
And now he's saying set, which is an Aleister Crowley creation, the church set.
And this is important. This is very important. And while he's giving us knowledge that is, to me, seems correct and everything, but it's good to see that aspect of it. If you know what I mean. The link to...
to be honest, that's what that's the 9-hour one I watched.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing. He kept bringing up bits and pieces, and I'm like, dude, no, I fully don't agree with that. Like, what the hell? Why do you keep saying things like that?
And he's got a good ego happening.
Oh yeah, he really does.
Yeah,
he's telling everyone else to shut up and listen to him.
Yeah. But okay, so shut up and listen to him then. I'm going to put him back on. Oh dear, man. This is fun, actually, isn't it? I'm liking it.
Yeah, see, this is what I thought you wanted to do in the first place for all of them.
Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah, but as I said, it's going to drag it out. So
yeah, that's okay. But
be over 2 hours.
Shall we say it's we'll go. I reckon we'll go another, maybe another hour, and but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long it takes, because we get to have a good chat. And yesterday I just didn't feel like it, so I didn't.
Oh yeah, yesterday I was feeling crap all day. Everything was getting
so it was good.
I got screwed over yesterday, even worse again, and
Well, I'm not mounting you.
Everything just wrecked me for a day.
Yeah.
Today I got half it sorted, but now I've still got to sit back and wait. So I'm trying not to stress till I actually hear something.
Well, actually, I probably won't do one tomorrow because it's Bowls Day tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if it takes a fucking week or something. Yeah?
No.
Yeah?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, as Passio was just saying, shut the fuck up, and I'm going to put him back on.
Additive thoughts. We're going to take a look at a couple little fun metaphors for this, okay? And the first is one of my favorite bands of all time, the Ramones, that I actually incorrectly said what album this song was on in an interview. It is actually on the album Brain Drain. I thought it was on another one. But the song Learn to Listen, I love it, from the Ramones. Learn to listen. Listen to learn. You got to learn to listen before you get burned. And that's deep, profound spiritual philosophy as far as I'm concerned from, a fun punk band. If you don't learn to listen, learn how to quiet the mind, you're not really listening. You're not really taking in the necessary information. You're not really doing the things that are required to change, and then you're going to get burned in the long run. You got to learn to listen before you get burned. Take Joey Ramone's profound philosophical advice there, folks. And the other allegory or metaphor I'm going to give is the Freemasonry tradition has a practice called tiling the lodge. A tiler in Freemasonry is the person who is a member of the lodge who is charged with guarding the lodge from the outside of it. They stand outside the lodge during lodge work and meetings, and they guard the lodge against unwelcome intruders who may want to barge into the lodge during the lodge's workings. So a tiler is a guard at the door of the lodge. Actually stands outside the door. It was very difficult for me to get a picture of a tiler. I almost contacted some Freemason friends and was going to actually ask them, could you take a picture of your tiler, if that is permitted at your lodge session outside, and send it to me for my presentation, because it would be amazing to learn how difficult it was for me to get a picture of a tiler at the lodge door. I got a kind of grainy one, but it was good enough. The lodge itself in Freemasonry is a symbolic representation of the mind.
Hi, Sweat. How are you?
That's why the base consciousness is the floor and the higher consciousness is the stars and planets and the sun and the moon, especially the sun, of course, because it's the source of all life in our solar system. So it's a wonderful symbolic representation of our self and our consciousness and our mind. The tiler in the lodge is a symbolic representation of guarding the mind against unwelcome, intrusive, and distracting thought that will hinder self-betterment, because that's what the real work of Freemasonry from a esoteric perspective is and should be. It's about the betterment of the being and the soul. So in its true form and tradition, obviously the modern lodge system does not always meet that standard.
Pretty much.
Of esoteric practice, let's say, okay, often far from it. So to tile the lodge of one's own mind means we guard against unwelcome thoughts, intruders into the lodge that are going to distract us from our internal work. This is a beautiful metaphor and a beautiful allegory if it's properly understood. Being able to keep intrusive thought outside of the mind is an integral component of shadow work. And that's why before even beginning, learn to quiet the mind and learn to truly listen. Because mental distraction inevitably leads to poor progress during attempted self-improvement.
Yeah, distraction.
So you have to tile the lodge, folks, and that's what a tiler looks like. He just stands outside those lodge doors and he makes sure there's no intrusion during the business of the lodge. That's his job. And that's our job that is preparatory to doing true shadow work. Tile your lodge, folks. Before doing the shadow work, tile the lodge. Keep competitive, unwelcome, and intrusive thoughts out of the lodge of one's own mind. Another thing that is preparatory and essential and critical to shadow work is addressing the programmable state. And if you've heard me talk on it, you've probably heard other researchers like Jay Parker talk on it. You must address the programmable state. If you're not addressing the programmable state, you're not paving the way for good programming. You're not going to address trauma properly during shadow work. You have to understand your own programmability, and that's uncomfortable at first because you're going to realize just how programmable you have been and just how programmed you were. And
well, speaking about programs, I've noticed when I put things up on the screen, it only puts like the first line of the message. So
which screen? What are you talking about?
I'll put the messages up on the screen with the bizzo, and it only puts half the message up. It only has one line. Anyway, sorry, I've been distracted, and let's go back to the show. Sorry about that.
But you see why I have a bit of a problem with it.
Yeah, I do.
It's like, first of all, it's like all Crowleyism, and now it's like all promoting Freemason.
Yeah.
So you do see why I got a bit of a problem with it.
I do, yeah, and I have a problem with it too. Yeah, but yeah, there is a basic core of good information there, I think. But he's got his own little fucking way of doing it.
He twists it all, and the way he portrays it
is
going to actually put more people off.
Yeah. Well, I've decided to do this, so I can't stop now, can I? And it's going to.
That's what I mean. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm here for. It's so that it's not just instantly believed, like he's saying. Just shut up and listen. But no, there's actually lots of shit you're saying that I don't agree with, and I can see which agenda you're pushing, even though you say you're against it all now. Oh no, I've left the Satanic Temple while I keep using all of the Crowleyisms and everything that I say.
There is a possibility there.
Freemasonry.
There is a possibility there that he probably doesn't do it on purpose. It's just the way he's been brought up and stuff like that. He uses those terms. Well, yeah, I'm being devil's advocate, I guess, in the way of he might not mean it, but then again, he may.
If he's saying it in every time he speaks.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get back.
Promoting and what he's pushing.
Yeah, well, let's get back to it then anyway. Yeah, thanks for the, this is great fun because we're pulling it apart bit by bit, aren't we?
Yeah, well, that's what I said. It's like, see how long we actually go for, because us talking and pausing it and shit's going to drag it out a lot longer.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Hey, mate, people might watch it.
They will, because I don't think many people actually would sit down and watch the whole 9 thing, the 9 hour thing. Is it not?
Then it's a good thing because it's like
8, 9.
Yeah. It's 8 hours 54 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah.
And 28 seconds. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It doesn't matter if we just do like an hour and we keep pausing it and talking about shit, and it ends up being like 2 hours or something.
Yeah, so
well, like 1 hour each time, and actually sit there and go through it when he says things that I completely disagree with.
Yeah, well, it's 4 o'clock here now, and I plan on going down the bowler at about 4:30. So we've got another half hour to, and then and then we'll carry on tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, the next day. You said you're busy tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, well, he's on now.
Like, wow, I can now rewrite this code and put great programming into the mind, and then an optimal and efficient life will follow. It doesn't always mean everything's going to work out and you're going to be perfectly happy or at peace, because many, many other people create the condition that we have to live in, called the human condition. But at least you're working on your own stuff so that you're not working against yourself, so that you're not creating more self-inflicted suffering. When beginning shadow work, one must address one's own programmability. This means to examine deeply where one's own thoughts and habits originate from. Where did your thoughts and behaviors come from? You got to trace them back to your original belief systems and how they were programmed into your mindset. We must recognize that the very thoughts that we think on a daily basis, many of them are actually not always our own. That's an uncomfortable thing for most people to wrestle with. Your thoughts didn't come from you. They're not your own. Sometimes they're not very good for you at all. Sometimes they're very self-destructive to you, the thoughts that you think and believe. Even more disturbingly, they may rarely be our own. In our lives, we're sleepwalking through life, and the things that we believe and are telling ourselves every day and the bullshit stories we tell ourselves, they didn't even come from us. They came from somebody that knew nothing. Or worse, they came from somebody trying to deliberately manipulate us. We have been socially engineered and culturally programmed to an uncomfortably, unbelievably great degree. And we must directly confront that fact during shadow work. The very good news regarding the human programmable state is that it also works in reverse, toward the positive. Whatever has been programmed into a person's mind can be deprogrammed. Bad programming can be replaced with good programming via hard work. It's not automatic. It's not easy. It requires discipline. It requires effort. It requires really trying. It requires hard work and sacrifice. But can it be done? Absolutely it can be done. I'm living proof. The mind and the brain have been scientifically proven to have high plasticity, which means the ability to change and to heal. It doesn't mean the mind is actually plastic, made of plastic. Plasticity means it is pliable, it is bendable, it is workable, it is changeable. Scientifically proven as such. We have the ability within the mind to change and heal. When approaching shadow work, one must keep these factors in mind and be prepared to continuously recognize socially programmed states of mind and thought, because they're everywhere. In shadow work and preparation for shadow work, we absolutely must address our traumas. And we can't let these debilitate us. Everybody has some form of trauma that they have dealt with in life. Everyone. Myself, no exception. And continuous traumas happen. It isn't like, oh, it's just old traumas. New traumas occur. So you have to recognize, acknowledge, and adapt to those traumas. You cannot let them overwhelm you. You have to address them. Much of shadow work, believe me, will involve addressing personal trauma in many forms. Trauma can come in many varieties, including but not limited to physical trauma, mental trauma, emotional trauma, psychological trauma, developmental trauma, social trauma, and even spiritual trauma. Trauma is one of the main dynamics that ends up severely limiting personal growth if it later remains unaddressed. It will only limit your spiritual growth if you do not confront it, if you just let it go unaddressed and unattended to. You have to turn, you have to face it, you have to confront it, and you have to work with it in order to heal it. It's not automatic, folks. None of the processes of shadow work are automation processes. They require continuous effort. One must be willing to make themselves vulnerable during shadow work, at least to the extent that they can open up and acknowledge the trauma that they have previously experienced. If you don't do that, shadow work will fall short and not achieve its intended results. So you have to at least be open and vulnerable to the extent that you can address and confront and deal with trauma. And you have to be able to speak about it with yourself and potentially with others, but certainly you have to address it within your own mind and within your own self. And you can't run away from it, and you cannot ignore it. Those are the things you're guaranteed. You're going to stay exactly stagnant, or you're going to actually revert and go backwards if you do those things. One does not necessarily need to emotionally relive traumatic experiences. to deal with different forms of trauma during shadow work. So this is a hotly debated and contested dynamic within self-improvement and, working through traumas. Is should you allow the emotions to come back in and almost like set up space and make you feel or relive the trauma? Does that help it, or is that not necessary? And I'm one of the people that I tend to go into the camp that's not really necessary. You don't need to relive a trauma. You need to address a trauma. Those are two different things. So trying to relive the trauma or allowing it to be relived emotionally can often continue to negatively imprint the trauma upon an individual's psyche. This has been shown to be done with laboratory-controlled experiments in these fields, and just completely reliving the trauma emotionally is not necessarily the right pathway. So again, the whole thing here is not going to just be about trauma, but this has to be addressed and entering preparation for and doing shadow work. So instead of trying to emotionally relive the trauma, I feel that one is better served to acknowledge the existence of the trauma while reminding yourself that a traumatic event or situation is not equivalent to one's personal identity. And that can actually be a statement that you keep making to yourself. I am not the trauma that I lived. I am not the trauma that I experienced. I experienced trauma. I am not that. I am something far more all-encompassing. That is just an event or an occurrence that happened to me. So when you do that, it lessens devastating emotional impact. It doesn't mean you ignore what happened. You don't go off again in this state of dreaming and say, that never happened. No, you have to fully acknowledge that it happened. You have to fully acknowledge how it messed you up without necessarily reliving the precise emotions in that kind of sequence or loop. So again, instead, acknowledge the existence of the trauma and consistently remind yourself that the traumatic event or situation is not your identity. It's not who you are. It's just something that you experienced. In other words, one's trauma and pain are things that an individual has experienced, but not who an individual is. During shadow work, we should make a serious effort to address those experiences, yet not allow those experiences to define us. We should not take our identity from those experiences. They are not our identity, objectively, factually. They are simply events that occurred and experiences that happened. And we do have to address them during shadow work, but not relive them. One of the things that has to be addressed during shadow work, and we'll talk about the questions that lead to the addressing of these things, is our actual inadequacies, whether they are imagined or real, because there's two kinds of inadequacies. There's inadequacies that aren't true. They're illusory. They're imagined. They're things we think we're inadequate with, but we are not. And then there are actual, real inadequacies, things that we do fall short with that have to be addressed during shadow work. And we have to have the discernment to know the difference between these two forms of inadequacy and feelings of inadequacy. Feelings of inadequacy are one of the most complex aspects of shadow work. The main reason for this is because such feelings are sometimes imagined or even artificially implanted into someone's mind by others. See, we can actually have inadequacy implanted into us when no such inadequacy exists. Feelings of inadequacy embedded into the mind by others. Sometimes such feelings are accurate because they are actually true. Some of us have inadequacies that must be addressed and built and worked with and worked through. The methods of shadow work will help us to determine whether feelings of inadequacy are true or false or imagined. Even more importantly, how we can deal with these inadequacies. Separating real inadequacies from imagined ones can be complex and requires discernment on the part of the shadow work practitioner. Once one can tell the difference between real and imagined inadequacy, one can improve the real ones and shed the attachment to those who have been imagined or implanted. This is highly important when it comes to conducting the methodology and practice of shadow work. Know the difference between a real inadequacy versus one that may have been illusorily imagined or implanted by someone who wants you to feel inadequate. You need the discernment. You have to develop the discernment to recognize which is which, and then go to work on releasing the false inadequacies, like you're just not smart enough to do that thing, or you're just not going to have the aptitude to learn this or that. These are implanted inadequacies. If you work at things, you can achieve them. I'm not telling you, if you're 5'2", you're going to become the next great basketball player on earth. But, people can learn things that they were told, oh, you're not going to be able to aspire to that, or you're not going to ever become good at that. With enough practice, you could become great at just about anything. So you discern between the real and imagined or implanted inadequacies. You shed the false ones, and you go to work on improving the real ones, because there are real inadequacies. It's not just that they're all illusory. There are things that we don't do very well that we can improve. There are things that we don't care about enough. We can improve that. There's all sorts of inadequacies: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. And we can go to work on improving those real ones. You don't dwell in shame or feeling bad about them. You acknowledge them, and then you work to improve them. So another dynamic involved in beginning and preparing for shadow work is you have to bring the subconscious to the conscious level. So you have to understand how to go into layers that dwell below the conscious mind. And again, meditation, specifically transcendental meditation, will help you with that. It will help you get to the subconscious workings of the mind. The subconscious and unconscious aspects of our mind, and listen to this statistic, and it's true, is where about 95% of the motivation for our behavior comes from. Now, that's unbelievable, but true. Okay? Let me say that again. The subconscious and unconscious aspects of our minds is where 95% of the motivation for our behavior comes from. So if only 5% is at the conscious level, we are basically allowing ourselves to be run on autopilot with a program that has often been directly instilled in us by other people that don't have our good interests at heart, unless we work to find that subconscious code and bring it up to the place where it can be read and understood at the conscious level of the mind. And this is the way you do this. These realms of the psyche comprise the majority of the psychological material that we are really working with during the process of shadow work. You're dealing with the subconscious, and you're dealing with methods to bring it to the conscious level of awareness. And you do this through self-examination and questioning, which again, we're going to get to that method. Until we dive into the seemingly negative and dark elements. That's what shadow work really is. Delving into that bottom of the iceberg, that's going to really create a problem when travel and boats try to get past that iceberg, and you only see the top, and there's jagged structures underneath that probably extend well beyond the very peak and top of that iceberg that is visible. If you don't go into those deep, murky waters of the subconscious and unconscious and attempt to then visualize those elements at the conscious level and understand how they got so messed up, you're not going to be successful at real shadow work. So we have to dive into the seemingly negative and dark elements that comprise these non-conscious aspects of ourselves, okay, and bring them to the conscious level, or otherwise we cannot truly become aware of our prior self-defeating mental programming. See, this is part of all discovery of existing programming. That's a gigantic part of shadow work. Understanding human nature is programmability. Understanding that programming has happened without our consent. Often when we were very young. Often by people with none of our true self-interest at heart. Often by social engineers that are putting this programming out through the government, through the media, through schooling, through so-called education, through religion. And you don't beat yourself up over accepting the programming. And you don't make excuses that the programming is there. Oh, that's just my programming. No, not good enough. Not acceptable. You have to say, yes, while it is not my fault that these components of programming were injected into me without my consent, it is now my responsibility as an adult to delve into that programming and to examine it and to restructure it so that I no longer am on autopilot and I am no longer just living in a dream state, in a sleepwalking state of life. That's our true responsibility in shadow work to do, is drudge that up, bring the programming to the conscious level, and deal with it through the process of self-examination. And we're going to get, again, to that method very shortly. Another individual who is synonymous with the term shadow work is Carl Jung. Again, I will just bring up a couple of things by him. I'm not going to go directly or deeply into his work, as I'm not going to any specific researcher or specific single method, but it is important just to touch on his work and give the credit where it is due. Carl Jung basically championed shadow work. He was one of the first people to really popularize it as a method of self-improvement. And he said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, bringing that subconscious programming up to the level of awareness so that you can deal with it and reprogram it or deprogram it. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate, because that's 95% autopilot just churning away, and you think you're actually living your own thoughts. You believe you're living your own life according to your own thoughts and determinations, and you're not. That's all programming that was put there by social engineers and others who were either idiots themselves or deliberately did not have your best interest at heart and deceived you. Remaining in ignorance of the non-conscious aspects of ourselves means that we just continue to sleepwalk through life, accepting that things happen to us or are somehow predetermined, or that there is nothing that can be done. This is one of the hallmarks of poor mental programming, of self-defeatist mental programming, is what can poor me do about it? There's nothing that can be done about that. There's an infinite variety of improvements that can be done about any poor condition in life. An infinite amount. So how you know that you're programmed is that you're going to be saying, oh, there's nothing that can be done to improve ourselves and others. This dark, unconscious shadow material must be drudged up. It's like drudging in a lake or a pond. You got to dig at the bottom, at the dirtiest, scummiest part of it. You got to dig into it, and then you bring it up and purify it. You can't purify the bottom of a lake if there's a bunch of pollutants in it. It would have to be drudged up, and then you purify it out through the water. So you have to bring that from the unconscious level to the unconscious level, as Jung is saying here. If we refuse to make a true effort to do this because we are afraid of drudging into those murky waters of the mind, we will still be controlled by our unconscious programming, impulses, and fears. And it will continue to seem that we are just directed by fate. When no, we are not. We are directed by embedded programming, because our mind works similarly to a computer. Once we deprogram and then reprogram the computer that we are operating with through our consciousness, then we're not on autopilot anymore, and we are directing our lives, not some nameless social engineer and dark occultist who their sick, demented, evil psychological work implanted and embedded into our programming. This is all about the purification of that code, of that programming, of that mental input. That's what shadow work is, folks. So Jung had a very interesting and great and original take on it. My take on it differs somewhat, but pays homage and respect to Jung. Shadow work is about confrontation, not escape. You are not trying to escape problems or make problems go away. You are trying to confront problems and work through problems. So, ignoring or attempting to quote-unquote escape problems is the most effective way to ensure that those problems will persist and continue to be the cause of ongoing suffering. Only when we make a sincere effort to confront problems instead of running away from them do we find the power to solve them. Knowledge of self and human psychology plays a critical role in this process. Again, knowledge has to play a role. That's why you have to study psychology. You have to study shadow work. You need to read about it. It's not just from me. It's not just from Jung. It's from an eclectic variety of sources. And you need knowledge of psychology. You need knowledge of occult psychology. That's why people say, what's great preparatory work for shadow work? Occult psychology. Learn occult psychology through Hermetics, Rosicrucianism, Tarot, Kabbalah, Freemasonry, Thelema, Theosophy. You name the tradition. You study those traditions, you're going to go a long way in understanding deep occult psychology, and therefore you're going to go a long way into understanding shadow work and being able to do it at an efficient level. Folks, when I did the bulk of the shadow work that I've done, which I could briefly touch on when I was coming out of the satanic mentality that I was in when I was a priest in the Church of Satan in my youth, there were days where I thought I wasn't going to live. Like I was just dwelling in shame, wanted to die, was so depressed and shameful about what I had been involved in and duped and how I had been programmed by family members and, friends and, then people within Satanism. And, doing the shadow work to come out of it was some of the most uncomfortable work that I've ever done. And it was all confrontational psychology with the self. That's all it was. Looking in a mirror and asking the questions that I had to ask, acknowledging the hard answers, and then getting to work. And that's a boiling down of what shadow work really is. We must confront the problem through knowledge. That's what a diagnosis is. The word diagnosis literally means through knowledge. Dia in Greek means through or by way of, and gnosis in Latin means knowledge. So diagnosis, literally as a word, came from the Greek roots meaning through knowledge. You can never confront problems through ignorance or attempts to escape those problems or escape personal responsibility to deal with those problems. You must directly confront them through knowledge. And that the knowledge that you need is knowledge of psychology, especially occult psychology. Growth occurs when individuals confront
Well, how about now? Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, fuck. Well,
yeah.
well,
okay, let's see if I can repeat that.
Yeah.
I was saying Passio just seems to be actually going through all of his satanic background, saying that you need knowledge to actually overcome all the programming, but you need the occult. You need to know the occult. Occult does just mean like hidden knowledge. I do get that, but he's promoting like the darker side of it, because everything he keeps bringing up is still part of Satanism. Like he doesn't seem to be able to move away. Like saying you need knowledge. I mean, for those who are religious, you know that eating the apple gave Adam and Eve knowledge, and that's why they got kicked out of the Garden of Eden. Yeah.
So, okay.
Like, that's why I have such a problem with him all the time, mate. Because he claims to have left all this behind, and he is rich and famous now, promoted quite a bit, and says, everyone shut up and listen to me.
Okay. Well, on that note, I'm going to pretty much finish up nearly.
I know. You've got like 1 minute before you're supposed to be at bowling.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Don't have to be bowling. Don't have to do fucking shit. I can just do whatever the fuck I want.
Tomorrow's the have to one, isn't it? Today was just because you wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah. Tomorrow's a have to. Today's I just want to. Well, DK, I somewhat agree and disagree with what you just said. I don't really know if that is the case, but it looks likely, so I don't know. As I always say, that I just don't know, because I'm not the sharpest knife in the block. I'm a bit like a bread knife. I cut through difficult subject matter and always leave plenty of crumbs on the board.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up there for now. So, just yell at everyone, tell them where you're at, what you're doing.
Basically, the main place you can really find me is like I stream on Rumbel 24/7.
The links are in the description.
Alan did, like Amos did post the links in the Rumbel, his Rumbel and the YouTube chat.
Actually, it's not in the Rumbel one.
Find me out here.
It's not in the Rumbel.
In the Rumbel one as well.
No, it's not in the Rumbel one because I didn't put it in because.
No, it's in the chat. I said.
It's in the chat. Yeah,
it's in the chats on both of these. I mean, maybe check it in the description later. I don't know.
Yeah.
Actually, I should just go chuck it into your comments. It'll actually boost your stuff as well. Actually, if anyone's still watching on Rumbel, and then make sure you like, post in comments, and repost.
Share and do all that sort of stuff.
Because those are the three things that anyone can do for free, which actually boosts what Rumbel pays you. So it doesn't cost the person doing it any money. It just costs them pushing a few buttons.
Yeah. You know? No one pays me.
Do that for people on Rumbel. If you don't have any money to donate, then do those three things. Four things. Follow, scroll down to the comment section. I don't mean just in the chat. Scroll down to the comment section, leave a comment, and then repost. You just have to say why you think everyone else should watch it.
Yeah.
As I mean, it's only a few words for everything and a few clicks of the buttons.
Yeah.
It's simple and costs you nothing.
Mm-hmm. So.
Anyway, much love, no fear, everyone. I'll let you wrap up.
Be aware. Hey guys, thank you very much for watching this bit of the show. There's going to be another one Thursday or 48 hours basically.
Yeah, Wednesday if you're in America, Thursday if you're in Aussie or New Zealand.
Yep. Yeah, so.
You'll be 12 hours behind in the UK, 13 hours, 12, 11. I don't know what it is from Australia.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, something like that.
But in the meantime, folks, seriously, one of the most important things you can do, actually, is be good to everybody. Be good to other people. Be good to yourself. Yeah. Love. I'm not talking about love. Love is important, and being a good person is probably important. Just do the right thing or don't. Cheerio, folks.